look at my mom, I'm like, that's my superhero, because she's been with me through it all. She's never talked badly about my father. She made it known that my father was the best thing that's happened to her. She's like, Louis was the best thing that happened to me. I loved Louis for the time that I had with him. I loved him that he was there for me, but I love him more because he gave me a gift before he left this world, which was you. And I would break down. I'd be like, Mom.
So when you went to see them, how did that feel? Did you feel at peace and feel like it was a positive experience the last time you got to see him?
I do believe that seeing him for the last time helped me a lot mentally, because I felt as though if I didn't get to see him on his last moments, I was gonna carry a whole bunch of I should have with me, and I didn't want that. I thank my mother who actually took me down there. She stood with me through it all, thick and thin. She made it clear that this is my decision. What happens from now on, she's gonna stick by me every way. Whatever I say, she's gonna stand by it. She's gonna defend me from anyone who goes against me. You know, I feel as though seeing my father for the last time, it really helped me out. I was able to get a lot off my chest that I've never said to him, that I was able to say to him in his bed before he passed on, you know?
Did it bother you or did it hurt you to see him, laid up in a hospital bed?
Yeah, it did bother me because I felt like his entire situation was preventable. It could have been prevented had we took the right steps. Everybody in this situation had a fault. That's what I believe. And when there's a situation, everyone is at fault in some way. And we have to own up to our mistakes. My fault being that I feel as though I didn't try hard enough. My sister has her faults, and she's been able to come up to that term. You know, she knows she was at fault when she left our father in Florida by himself. She actually carries that grief with her a lot. I try to tell her, yes, accept that it was your fault, but don't let this grief drag you down. You have a good life. You have children who are going to depend on you, who need you more than ever right now because they just lost their grandfather. And they need their mom to tell them that everything is going to be okay. So you can't let this grief drag you down. But I am upset about it because I felt like, in a way, this could have all been prevented, whether it be having the accident be prevented to stopping us from having to send him to hospice. That there was so many ways that this situation could have been prevented that it wasn't prevented.
I want, something you said there, where you feel like, you said you felt like maybe you could have tried a little harder. From somebody who is a recovering addict themselves, I want you to know that no matter how hard you could have tried, don't feel like maybe there was something you could have done a little differently. Don't carry that around. And don't feel like that. Even though it's hard, when stuff happens, of course, we like to think, man, I could have done this differently. There was no amount. Listen, if it was just up to prayers and well wishes and stuff like that, your dad and probably the rest of the addicts around wouldn't be going through what they go through. Some people, learn before they hit their rock bottoms. Some people hit their rock bottoms, and some people hit their rock bottoms and keep on going. Unfortunately, that your father, he's not here with us anymore. And it's heartbreaking. You know what I mean? Like, I look at your face, I see your dad. We were just looking through your baby book. I see your dad, and it reminds me, it's also nice because it reminds me of how much he loved you and how much he cared for you. And I remember, the first time that I seen you and your mother when, you guys came to check on him in Kensington. And I remember the way he used to speak about you, even when we were in jail, the way he used to speak about the relationship that he had with your mother would make me a little jealous that I didn't have that relationship with my children's mother. Prior to my wife, I have 2 children, and I can't stand them. You know what I mean? And I was like, man, you got it fucking, like you guys have a dope relationship because it's strictly about you. When your dad first started struggling with addiction, did that make you look at addicts differently or feel, how did that,
No, I've never actually looked at people differently depending what they were going on. Mm-hmm. Because in my mind, my mom always tells me I'm too nice for this world, but in my mind, no matter who you are or what you're going through, you're still a human. You're just struggling with something that you can't get help with until you understand that you want help. Mm. The addicts never scared me. I've never felt pity for them. I felt remorse, like every day I would walk past an addict and I would think things are gonna get better for you if you just know that you want the help that you deserve. Yeah. But I've never looked at people differently. I always tried to understand why people do what they do before I go and I judge them, because there's always a story behind every action, unless you're just pure evil and just do what you want for anything. But I've always tried to look past people's situations and think, you're still human. How am I gonna judge you? I'm not a judge. I can't judge anybody. And even if I was a judge, it's clear that everyone has their own story. Yeah. And I can't judge it if I've never walked in your shoes. Until I walk in your shoes, I will never know what you're going through. The moment I walk in your shoes, then I'll think, damn, so this is why you're going through what you're going through. Yeah. But I would never look at people differently depending on what they're going on, because in a sense, that's not what I believe in. It's not how I was raised.
That's good. What is the best memory you have with your father?
The best memory I have with my father? There was a lot of them. It may have been for a short while, but there was a lot of them. There actually happened to be when he was on drugs. Mm-hmm. We had picked him up late at night. And McDonald's. So we drove to get him McDonald's, me in the drive-thru. We're like, what do you want, Louis? And he says, I want a double and a milkshake. He was like, okay. So we asked for that, and the woman goes, sorry, our ice cream machine is down. We can't give you a milkshake. And my mom goes, oh, I'm sorry, they don't got no milkshake, Louis. He was like, what you mean they ain't got no milkshake? They need to have milkshake. You're like, they don't have milkshake. What do you want me to say? Yeah. He was like, this some bull. They need to have some milkshake. I need to soothe my sweet tooth. She was like, Louis, with the amount of teeth that you have, you can hardly say that you have a sweet tooth. He was like, don't play with me, Arlene. I need my milkshake. She was like, I will personally drive to 7-Eleven, grab some ice cream and make you a milkshake if it will shut you up. And I'm in the back just dying because he got so pressed over that milkshake. Yeah. But it was like one of the best memories I had with him. My mom driving back home, she's like, how you gonna get me mad at me over a milkshake? Get mad at McDonald's, get mad at the worker. Why is their machine broken?
Yeah, that sounds like your pop.
Yeah, just the other day I was listening to something I heard online, and the guy was like, "What you want?" He was like, "You got beef? You want beef?" He was like, "Nah, I don't want beef. I want some chicken. I want some stew." I was like, "Oh my God, that reminds me of my father." It just sounds just like how he would talk.
Do you have a lot of those instances where something happens throughout the day and you be like, damn, that reminds me of my pop?
Yeah, on multiple occasions, I get reminded of my father. You know, it happens more often than I think, but sometimes it might just bypass me and I won't realize it till later. Like, that reminded me of my father. Why did I not think of that earlier? And then it just sticks with me, you know? It's good to know that there's a lot of stuff around me that can remind me of him, so I know that he's never truly gone, you know?
Yep. Now, when your father passed, we, let the channel know, and you've seen a lot of outpouring of support and people asking about you and wishing you well. How did that make you feel to see that there's people that live in Africa and Germany and Russia and Australia, New Zealand, France, that cared for your father and your father made an impact on them?
Oh, I broke down. I was so happy. I was like, dang, my dad really was a known guy. You know, it's so good to see that people around the world can get together to support somebody who they barely even know, but they feel like they've known him all their life.
Yeah.
And, it broke me down. I was like, damn, Dad, you really weren't known. You decided to make your mark on this world before leaving, like you said you always would. Mm-hmm. He said it would be for multiple reasons.
Yeah.
At one point, he even told me he was going to be the next Mark Anthony. I was like, whatever you say, Dad. Yeah. Now here he is, a well-known guy, and I just couldn't be more proud of him,
What advice would you give to a kid because there's going to be a young kid that's watching this, or maybe even an adult that's watching this and has a loved one that they care about that's struggling with addiction and they don't know what to do? What advice would you give from you being in that situation?
I want them to always remember that they can't help them unless they want help themselves. And even then, they need to remember that it's not their fault. What's going on with their loved one or whoever it is that's going through the addiction, it's not your fault that they're going through that. It's never your fault. This is either something that they chose or that happened, and no one, even if no one could have foreseen it coming or you felt like there was a way you could have prevented it, just know that it wasn't your fault in the sense that they did it because of you. No, yeah. It's never going to be because of that unless even if they outright tell you, it's never going to be your fault. And you shouldn't have to carry that weight of guilt. Even if you felt like there was something you could have done, you shoulda, coulda, woulda. It's never gonna be your fault unless you somehow partook in it. Like you gave them that needle and say, here, do it. Yeah. But it's not your fault. You're not to blame. Never carry that guilt. Understand that things happen. They happen for a reason. Even if you don't want them to happen. It's just an everyday life thing that some people go through and we don't even realize it. Like, sure, we don't want to see our loved ones spiral down to death, but death happens every other day. And it's just a crazy reminder of how we take life for granted, how we're never truly appreciative of something until it's finally gone. And then you just think of all the things you should have done. So all I can really say is spend time with that person. Tell that person how much you love and care for them, because you're never going to know when that addiction can spiral out of control and kill them, Because you're never going to know.
Now, you live a couple blocks from Kensington and Allegheny. What is that like for you, seeing that as a young lady and seeing what's going on and seeing, almost nothing's being done about it? How does that impact you as a young lady?
It's heartbreaking, because every day my mom's telling me, be careful, don't talk to strangers. And sure, it's a well-known thing that we shouldn't do, but it makes it more, eerie when you're walking down Kensington and all these people are just sitting there dipping and you don't know what to expect. Drugs can make you do anything. Mm-hmm. And I've always told my mom I'm gonna be okay, but I feel like as a child walking to a bus just to get to school, I shouldn't have to watch my back everywhere I turn. And the fact that there's nothing being done about it, it's depressing because you can see how nothing being done about it is affecting the environment as a whole, because these people, when they're high, they don't really understand what they're doing, and they're making messes and leaving it there. I know some drug addicts are very clean. I've seen them pick up after themselves, but sometimes they don't really pick up their mess, and that concludes to the environment as a whole, because you're throwing trash on the floor. The trash is affecting the environment, and it's causing pollution into the air. Yep. Global warming changing, it's getting hotter by the day, and you can see how it all connects to each other. Yeah. And you're just like, we can't evolve as people until we learn where to start. I'm not saying that we should start with the crackheads by any means, the addicts out there. We shouldn't start with them, but we know that they need our help, and if we're not doing anything, then what exactly are we contributing to? If we say we want to make this world a better place. We've been saying it since 2017, and nothing's been done.
Do you have any questions for me? Anything you'd like to ask me?
No, I want to thank you for being there. I want to thank you for being there for my father, being that shoulder he could lean on whenever he was in his lowest and I couldn't be there for him. I want to thank you for being a friend. You know?
Thank you.
You're more than a friend. You're like family now, man. You're like my Uncle Frank. Mm-hmm. You know?
Thank you. And I'll be the first one to say I'm horrible with keeping in contact with people. And like I said, when something bad happens, I sort of like, my way of coping with it is not to deal with it and just sort of like turn the other cheek. And I've been like, I've been putting this off, and it's just because I come here, I see you, of course, 100%. Now Malo's gonna be on my mind for the rest of the night, and then I'm gonna be wondering, all right, I wonder how she's dealing with it. This was my friend, but this is her father. And to know that it's not easy, dealing with the loss of a parent. That's not something that should be part of your life so young. I just know that I see the stuff that you do, and I watch from afar, and it's like, man, you're going places, you know what I mean? Like you're doing stuff for yourself. You can hear it as soon as you open up your mouth and speak. And it's, the goal, which isn't something you have to worry about yet, but the goal is, like when we become parents, is to make it so our children don't have to go through anything that we had to go through. And that those steps that you're taking, you don't realize it yet, but when you get a little bit older, you will, and you'll be like, all right, this is why I did this and this and this, so my children can have just a little better life than I
think my mom always told me that. She's not expecting grandchildren from me by any means. I mean, Jesus, she's got like 20 of them. But I do she does let me know on a daily that she does what she does for me. Mm-hmm. It's always going to be for me. She's even told my brother at one point, you're a grown man now. You're 30-something years old. You got your own family. I need to stray from you as my firstborn. I know it's never easy letting go of your firstborns because, Jesus, they're your firstborn. They've been through it with you. But she's told my brother, I have to let you go now because the time I have left in this world is for your sister, with her being the youngest, the last born. Yep. My time goes to her now. And I never really understood it up until now, She's doing what she does for me. I've never took my mother for granted. I don't recommend you take your mother for granted, Jesus Christ. Everything she's done for me, I've appreciated with a full heart. My mother was my world, she is my world, my everything, and I've mentioned her to people. Everybody in my school loves her, and I'm just like, when I look at my mom, I'm like, that's my superhero, because she's been with me through it all. She's never talked badly about my father. Mm-hmm. She made it known that my father was the best thing that's happened to her. She's like, Louis was the best thing that happened to me. I loved Louis for the time that I had with him. I loved him that he was there for me, but I love him more because he gave me a gift before he left this world, which was you. And I would break down. I'd be like, Mom, stop talking like that. And she'd be like, but it's true. My mom is an emotional woman. She puts on a tough facade, But she's emotional, and she's only ever confided in me to keep her emotional stability.
Yeah.
I'm actually been the one keeping my mother grounded through it all. My mom tells me every day that I'm gonna be someone in this world, and I'm gonna be honest. Up until National Honor Society accepted me, I had implemented a system in my mind where I was always gonna fail no matter how hard I tried, because I had that low self-esteem for so long. But I'm working on it, you know? After seeing how much I've been able to complete, I'm like, my siblings and my mother are right. I'm going places. I'm gonna be the first of the Mohicans in my generation to graduate high school, get the diploma, and do something with my life. You know, I'm gonna break that cycle in my family.
Yep.
And it's crazy, man.
Watch how dope that's gonna feel. Watch how proud your mother's gonna feel watching you walk across that stage and graduate.
I told my mother, the moment I graduate high school, I'm a senior, I have my little cloak on and everything, the moment I get off that stage with my diploma, I'm gonna walk over to you, take my robe off, put it on you, give you my diploma, and tell you we graduated.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's the way it is, you know. Even before I met your mother, just by hearing the way that your father would talk about her, I had to know that she was an amazing, special, extremely selfless woman, because the way he spoke about her was like the way you would talk about a best friend, and it was like, you know, it was nice to hear, and to know that, you know, she put her feelings aside to make sure that you knew who your father was, and all that. That's a big deal. You know, that's a big deal, because that's not easy to do. So just hearing the way that your father would speak about her, I already knew. I was like, damn, she got to be a hell of a woman.
She is a hell of a woman.
Yeah. And listen, don't ever set limits on yourself. I promise you that there's nothing in this world you can't do. If you see one person do it, you know it's possible. And then you know, all right, it just takes a little bit of hard work and dedication and sacrifice. And you can literally do anything you want to do in this life. The sooner you realize that and believe in that, the sooner you start that race. And I know for a fact you're going to do great things. You know, you're a special young lady, and I know that your father's, you know, happy, extremely happy and proud, and smiling down on you. And I'm happy for the both of you. You know.
Thank you.
I thank you. Anything you'd like to say to the viewers or the subscribers?
I want to thank them for encouraging my father to get better. I want to thank you all for your support. It was incredible to see how many people knew my father. You know, I guess if anything, I want to thank you all. You guys are like family I didn't even know I had. I go back to the videos every day and I just look at the comments and I'm like, yes, this is like the support I wish I knew I had at the time. I wish I knew ahead that this many people knew my father. But Jesus, I want to thank you all for just being there. You know, giving him the support when I felt that no one else could. I want to thank you all. Just thank you.
Thank you. And I thank you for taking the time to speak with me and the courage, because this isn't easy to do. To just get in front of a camera and speak, and then let alone speak about something so personal and so painful. I commend you. That I don't know if I could have done that at your age. What's
It's
up?
okay. And I know it's not hard to talk about, but sometimes it's good to talk about it, you know? Get some stuff off your chest that you don't usually talk about. You always keep it sealed in. It's always good to let it off your chest, because the amount of stress that's going to put on your heart, man. I make it an effort to talk to my mom whenever I can, or whenever I feel like I can actually withstand it without breaking down. Because if I break down, she's going to break down, and then we're both sitting there crying.
Yeah, but that's all right, man. Talk about it. I'm telling you. I didn't learn that until I was 35. I wish I would have learned that earlier when I was your age. I would have saved myself a whole bunch of heartaches and head knocks and all that stuff. I just, I look forward to seeing what you accomplish next, and know that I'm watching from afar. Even though I might not be in contact all the time, I'm definitely watching. Give me a hug and thank you for doing this. I'm sure there's going to be a young lady or a young man, even an adult that watches this and learns something from it and be like, man, I admire her strength and her courage.
I hope there is someone out there.
Yeah, I know for a fact. I'm telling you, there is.
It'll feel good to help somebody who's going through what I'm going through.
Yeah.